There's a lot going on in the world today. We have the poly crisis, which are systems that were created to keep us safe after the Industrial Revolution, and they're breaking down all around us. When things get shaky, what do? We run inside and we go undercover. We come back to us as the anchor. Have you heard that adage, no one is coming to save you? Well, it's true. No one's coming to save you because people are all busy saving themselves. And I'm seeing more and more people who are done with the corporate world. The do more with less message is a bit worn out. The hustle and grind to make more money for other people isn't resonating. It's no longer about having a job for financial survival. It's about what we can do that is required, that is misaligned with our values. It's become a place where people don't feel safe being themselves. And when I left working for a company, I felt all of these things. But the telltale sign for me was we were making this enormous progress, and it all came to a grinding halt. It had attracted funding. I was invited to speak about it at a national conference. It had momentum, but things went off track with corporate politics, personal agendas, and egos who wanted a seat at the table. There's also the fact that your job isn't safe for anyone anymore. A position in the C-suite puts you at the crosshairs of accountability for making things happen. And when 70% of our workforce is disengaged, that says a lot about our lost labor costs that stop our trajectory. It's no wonder more and more people are considering starting a side gig or doing their own thing. They're looking for autonomy. They want freedom and flexibility that you can't get working for someone else. Starting your own business can be incredibly rewarding, but it comes with significant challenges and risk. And being aware of these aspects can help you prepare and navigate the journey more effectively. So today, I want to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly of being your own boss. So we're going to start with the good. This is the great part of being your own boss. And far and above for me, it was all about, I'm not going to say work-life balance because I think that gets misinterpreted, but I'm going to call it lifestyle design. Choosing when I want to work, how I want to design my business, where I want to work was incredibly freeing for me. Now, we've been taught we do business Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, but I had some other priorities. I wanted to have time with my young grandsons, so I selected a part of the week where I could dedicate to them. It also helps my daughter out with childcare, but I spend a small percentage of my week with them, and I take away from some other hours in the week. So what this requires is I may work outside of the 9 to 5. I may work a lot before 9 o'clock. I may work some after 5 o'clock. And I may even work on Saturday and Sunday when the rest of the world is coasting, which is actually a really good time because nobody bothers you then. It's a great way to get a lot of work done. All right. So lifestyle design is one. The second good thing about being your own boss is the flexibility that you have. And this really kind of pulls into lifestyle design that I was talking about. But let's say you have an event you want to go to in the middle of the day. Maybe your child has a school program that you want to attend. Maybe there is an event in another city with a family reunion or something that you want for personal development. You have the flexibility to call your own shots on that, and you have the chance to be able to do that because you're the boss. The control that you have, no one is deciding for you who you are going to work with or when you're going to do something. So having that freedom to have your own control of deciding what you want to sell and how you want to sell it and making all of those decisions, there is ultimate control in that. We also have a chance to do passion projects would be the next thing. There may be something that doesn't really align with your ideal client, but you see a bigger value of working with someone, whether it's a nonprofit or someone who's just starting out that you like to mentor. You have the autonomy as the business owner to be able to choose that. Next, financial rewards. There's a lot of security in working for someone else. You've got the ability to have that regular paycheck coming in, but that salary and the bonus, that's the ceiling of what you can earn. And being your own boss and having your own business, the possibilities are endless. There is no ceiling on that. You can make as much money as you want if you can figure out who you want to sell to, what they need, and to build a business model to structure that. So financial rewards would definitely be a good part of that. One of the things that I was not planning, but has been the biggest surprise and delight for me is the personal growth. Being your own boss is not easy, and everything rests on your shoulders. But knowing you have a challenge and being able to get through that challenge, even if you fall and recover yourself, what is the lesson you learn from that? How can you take that and make yourself better the next time? So personal growth, I always believe that personal development is professional development. So being able to grow yourself is also the ability to grow your business. Next on the list of good is job satisfaction. Remember when I was talking about being able to do something and looking at it a job well done? Seeing the transformation of my clients has been one of the most rewarding things. I have someone who comes to me, they have a problem, and they're in a lot of pain about it. Otherwise, they would have solved it themselves. They don't know where to go to. And so we walk through this process together to help them overcome that pain, to put it in the rearview mirror, to experience that transformation. And that is very satisfying for me to know that I was able to impact someone and help move their business along. All right. One that I did not see as it on the good list when I started, but oh my gosh, it is so amazing, are networking opportunities. Now, when I first started my business, a friend came to me and he said, you're going to have to network, because he knew how I felt about networking. In my previous role, I was asked to go network and I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do, right? You walk into this big room, there might be some event, there might be a meal attached with it, and you find your place at the table and, you have your business cards and there's a lot of people walking around talking, but what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to talk about? Well, I soon came to find out that your network is your net worth. And the relationships that you can develop, those people at those events are not to be seen as a prospect, but what you're doing when you're networking. And let's say you do go to one of those big events. My goal when I go to one of those big events is to find one person that I want to have a follow-up conversation with. If I can walk out of there with a name of one person I want to know more about, then I consider it a win. And so when I do meet with that person and follow up, my goal again is not to sell them. My goal is to find out what they do, what do they need, who can I connect them with. And you see how this starts to work? You start having those conversations, and then all of a sudden those people that you've met networking become collaborative partners on projects. They become strategic referral partners. Who do you need to work with before you would pass business on to them? And also, who needs to work with them before they pass business on to you? So networking opportunities, I love the network that I've built and continue to build, both in person, online, and also on LinkedIn. All right. And then finally, one of the good things that we're going to wrap up with today on the good part is the legacy you leave. Now, whether you're building a company to sell and exit later, or whether you're building a company that is all around you and depends on you, the legacy we leave is the impact we leave on our clients and their business. If you're online and you create content, it's the inspiration that you're giving other people. It's the connections that you have. And so, work is not only about making money. It's also about making an impact in the world. It's also about leaving the imprint of who you are and why you are here and how we can impact others positively. Okay, so that's the good. With good, there's usually a little bad. So let's unpeel and see what that looks like. Okay, one of the first things is uncertainty. So I will tell you, when I came to business ownership, I was a perfectionist. I was all about planning and knowing exactly everything that was going to happen. I could tell you 3 weeks from Thursday what I was doing at 2 p.m. Well, when you own your own business, that goes out the window. You have to be able to be comfortable navigating with some uncertainty. Can you put things in your calendar? Absolutely. Can you plan projects and events? Definitely. But sometimes there's things that come up, some new information that comes up that you learn that may cause you to tweak your plans, that may cause you to know that 3 weeks from Thursday at 2:00, that may be something that has to be rescheduled. So you have to be comfortable working with that uncertainty and knowing that you have the confidence that it will work out. All right, another on the bad list is the workload, particularly when you're starting out. A few months ago, I was speaking with a gentleman that I had met on LinkedIn, and we had a virtual coffee. And he was telling me about his life and his starting at his business. And first it was like, how's it going for you? Oh, it's going well. It's going well. And then as we got further into the conversation, he revealed that, he had lost his father when he was a teenager. He had gone to the Marines and had 2 deployments. He was married and divorced, and he'd had all of these things that had happened to him in his life. But now that he had left corporate to start his own business, he said, this is the hardest thing I have ever done. And I would agree, it is hard if you don't know where you're going and you don't have a roadmap to get there. I think when people start out, one of the hardest things is actually knowing where to start. A lot of people want to put up a website or get business cards. Like, I want to look like a real business. Well, let's go back to the basics and figure out what it is that you are trying to sell. And is there even a market for it, right? Are there people who want it? Who are those people? And what is the message to connect the two? So that's one thing that has been able to grow my business, is helping people understand those types of things. All right. And so that workload of figuring this all out is so overwhelming, of having to do all the things, right? Having to figure out how you're going to keep your financial records in order. What are you going to sell? How are you going to do marketing? And how are you going to develop your business and still have time for client work? All right. Next on the bad list, responsibility, right? If something goes wrong, who's to blame? You're the one that holds all the responsibility in your business. And so again, this is where you have to see how you are wired. What are the things that you can do to put things in place to set them up for success? And what are the areas that you can't control that you can do as much as you can to make sure they're successful? But just knowing that responsibility and being able to take responsibility and say, yes, I am at fault, or yes, I did it wrong, or yes, I will improve and do it better next. That's the way we grow better. That's the way you earn client respect. And that's the way you earn integrity as a business owner. All right. With that responsibility comes stress. Stress is something that we all have in life, right? We have something that we have an expectation and it doesn't go according to plan, or we may be worried about something that's coming. That stress is part of our emotions in life. It's part of being a human. But it's what you do with that stress. It's how you process those emotions. So you need to plan to have some type of outlet for it, whether it's exercise, getting out in nature, meditating. Find out what works for you to help you manage stress. You're never going to get rid of stress. We actually need a little of that stress to give us momentum to keep going. Okay. The next one, again, a lot of people don't know this one, but it comes as a surprise, is isolation and loneliness. Being your own boss. And if you have a company, being your own boss, you're the boss, right? There's not people that are at your level of responsibility who the buck stops with you. And so where can you find those other people? So this is where I highly encourage people to get in networking groups, or better yet, to find a mastermind, which, if you're not familiar with the term mastermind, it is a small group of people who are walking through business life together. They don't need to be in the same industry, but I happen to be in a couple of masterminds. And these are people who are, because I am a business owner, they also run their own businesses. And we talk about what are some of the things we're struggling with? What are some new things we found that have worked? And the term mastermind actually came from Napoleon Hill, a book by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. You're probably familiar with that. But the idea is when all of these minds get together in the room or in the virtual Zoom room, there is a mastermind that comes together with that collective wisdom of everyone that can really propel people and propel the group forward. All right. Next is the learning curve. Oh, there's so much to learn when you are your own boss. There's keeping up with what you are good at and that expertise. There's new developments in your industry. There are maybe new products and offers that you have to know how to navigate. There are things happening in the marketplace. But when you're starting out, there's so much to learn. And I can still remember that I was recommended to use a particular type of software to track the financials for my business. So I went to that software, and as I did, I didn't understand most of the terminology, setting up the accounts, right? I wasn't familiar with the financial terms. So I thought, I'm pretty smart. I'm going to go learn how to do it. So I found a YouTube video, and the guy who did this was actually pretty smart to do this. He had an 8-hour video with instructions, step-by-step instructions on how to set up this software. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't have 8 hours to learn a software that, first of all, I don't even understand the terms. So I bit the bullet. I purchased the software. I found someone that specialized in the software. And the best thing I ever did for my business was hire a bookkeeper. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to stress, and I know that it's being done right. So learning curve, look at what it is you really need to be learning, and what are the things that you're learning that you're just doing to keep yourself busy. So this is one thing that many entrepreneurs will fall into. They'll see something new and they think, oh, I need to get that certification, or I need to take that online course. And while they're busy doing it, they're thinking, I'm working on that business. I'm working to make myself more valuable and marketable so people will hire me. But you can get caught in a trap of learning and thinking that it's building your business, but it's not bringing any revenue. So what are the things that you can learn that you need to learn to propel your business forward? And what are the things that you're learning to keep yourself busy, to avoid maybe doing some of the harder things? All right. And with that comes time management. This is another bad thing. There's so much to do when you're your own boss. And the time management piece is something that's really critical. Time is one resource we all have the same amount of. And so how do you plan that time in your week? So here's something that's worked for me. I've got my calendar and I have different categories of activities. So I'm going to start with looking at business development. Okay. How do I start filling my pipeline? So anything I see as a networking event where I can meet other people, I will block into my calendar. I'll block travel time if necessary, or after the call is done, I'll block time to make notes if that's needed. And I will key that and block that time in, and I'll mark that on my calendar with the color of yellow. All right. Anything that is client work that is going to bring me money, or if it's a discovery call, something like that, I track with green. If it is recording my podcast or working on my podcast research, it is purple in my calendar. I am in one certification right now. And so those on the calendar, those dates where I meet with my team, they're marked with a melon color. All right. So you see how it goes. And so, I've got a number of different categories. And if you'd like to know more about that, just, ping me and let me know, send me a DM. I'll be happy to send you my list of how I structure my calendar and an example for that. But the thing is I can look at my calendar and I can glance at my calendar. If I don't see enough yellow on my calendar, then I know my pipeline will be effective. If I don't see enough green on my calendar, then I know I need to be looking at where is my revenue coming from. So time management is really critical. But here's what I would advise. Block in time for the things you need to do for yourself that will keep you fueled and keep you growing. So if you have a morning practice, make sure you block time for that. Make sure you block time that you have for self-care. Okay, the next bad thing that is very easy to fall into is client dependence. I speak with people that say, I only need 2 or 3 clients, which I think that's amazing. And I know they bring in a lot of revenue for them. But what happens when one of those clients go away? What happens when one of those clients can no longer afford to pay you? What happens when there is something in that business that really makes them pull back? And so this is why it's really important to keep that pipeline filled and also to diversify your revenue streams so you do have a number of ways to bring in business. All right, another on the bad list, which will be our last one for today, is the legal and financial issues. Most of us, unless we're in the legal or finance industry, we're not experts in that. And so what are the things you need to do to legally protect your business? Are you set up with the right business structure? Have you consulted a business attorney? And do you even have a business attorney on call that you can check with to see, how do I navigate these decisions? Where do I need protection? And again, on the finance piece, make sure you've got a great financial advisor, a tax attorney, a bookkeeper, whatever it is you need to keep your financial house in order so you can maximize the money that you're bringing in. All right, so we've had the good, we've had the bad, and now we're going to have the ugly. Yes, the ugly are some things that we have to navigate. And first one is the financial risk. I think the thing is when we look at pouring all of our talents and times into the skills that will bring in money, that sometimes we have to draw on personal savings when we're starting out. There may be times when cash flow is not even, and we may need to go into debt. So looking at that financial risk, what is it worth taking risk for, and knowing how you're going to resolve that. Next of the ugly is burnout. Burnout is very sneaky because we can think we're doing all the things. We can think we're being productive. And this is where burnout comes in. And actually, a couple of episodes ago, I had Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith on, where she talked about the 7 areas of rest. We can be very productive. We can still get a good night's sleep. But if we are not fueling ourselves in other areas, we can have emotional burnout. We cannot our creativity can be depleted, where we are spiritually. So if you have not already, go back and snatch the link to get the rest quiz on that previous episode. But one thing we need to know is, what are the things that you're doing that are burning you out? Increase that self-awareness. So I often talk about something that Gay Hendricks and I had a conversation with earlier in the season about zone of genius and zone of excellence. He has 4 different zones, and the top 2 are the ones where we do most of our work. So let's talk about zone of genius first. Zone of genius is the work that you do that you absolutely love to do. It sets your soul on fire. Like you can't believe you get to do it. And so that type of work, we need to make sure that is where we're heading, and make sure it's work that, that aligns with what people can pay us for, right? But then we also have zone of excellence work. All right. Zone of excellence work are the things that we're good at. It's what people pay us a lot to do. It's things that we can do over and over, and we've developed this expertise and skill. The problem is when you do too much of it, you can experience burnout and not even realize it. So make sure you are finding time every day, or at least in your week, to plug in some of that zone of genius work that can keep you inspired and help reduce that chance of burnout. All right. Another ugly thing about being your own boss is actually failure. Yes, businesses fail. They fail for a number of different reasons. And so this is where, I can't remember what the percentage is, but the number of businesses that fail within 5 years, I think it's somewhere, I know it's over 50%. So what is it that you can do to set yourself up for success? Find a mentor, find a business coach, find someone who can walk alongside you to give you the visibility that you do not have yourself. Because all of this work that you put in, all of this imprint that you're making in the world, this legacy that you're leaving to your clients and even to your family, we want to do everything we can to help you continue that and have a business that you love. When you look at all of this stress and potential financial risk, a lot of times it can impact your health, right? And if you think about it, stress, if we don't process that stress, which causes emotions, if we don't process those emotions, if we store them in our body, they end up being what causes disease and chronic illness. So making sure you have a way to process that stress, making sure you have a way to process that emotions, finding the modalities that work for you. Because when we are sick and these health issues come up, if you can't go to work, and you don't have systems in place where you still have revenue coming in, it could really drastically impact your business. All right. And then we have unpaid work. This is something that's really easy to fall into, of being helpful and being kind to other people. And some people will have, guardrails. I won't do that unless I get paid for it. But there are times in your business where you need to do the right thing, right? You're helping somebody out, maybe giving them an hour of your advice to just get them started. And by investing that deposit into their account of helping them, you don't know where that's going to go. They may come back and be a client of yours. They may refer people to you. But also, when you're starting out, one thing you're going to need are testimonials. People who say what it was like to do business with you. Because of course your website's going to say that you're good at doing what you do. Your content's going to say that. When you go on a podcast, you're going to talk about what you do. But what do other people say about working with you? What was their life like when they came to you? And what is the transformation they experienced as a result of doing work with you? All right. So unpaid work is necessary, but it is part of doing business. That leads to sacrifices. What are you going to have to sacrifice? Is it places that you shop? Is it events that you attend? Is it time that you may have had that you have to pull back on, at least for a while? Being your own boss is having a business that turns into being your baby. And it may be that, you find that your vacations even look a little different. You may have to have a certain part of your day where you check in with your team or check in to see how things are going. That business is always on your mind. So it's very hard to unplug when you are the boss, because that responsibility does set on you. Okay. And then competitive pressure and market volatility. I'm going to put both of these together because this is from the outside forces. Okay, one is, what is your competition doing? And I want to speak to that because a lot of times when people approach their business, they see other people who do what they do as competition. And that's a scarcity mindset. There are plenty of people out there who need what you do. And there's plenty of business to go around. So when you see someone who does what you do, take time to get to know them. What is it that they do that you don't do? And likewise, what services do you offer or products do you have that they don't sell? Also, who are the people that you love working with? You may find out they don't even want to touch them, right? So if they have a potential client that comes to them, they know who to refer you to. There's also the possibility of collaboration on projects or speaking events. And so that competition is good to know, but also a healthy competition that if somebody is improving their services, it pushes you to really take a look at what you're doing and for you to grow as well. All right. When I talk about market volatility, we have our businesses, we get them to a place where like, okay, this is good. It's really working. But then what happens? Well, maybe a pandemic comes in. Maybe the workforce changes, right? And so how do you manage that? What's happening in the market where people may not be holding or may be holding onto their dollars a little bit more? They may not be spending as much. So being aware of what's going on and knowing how to flex and move and navigate with that, being agile enough to do it and not sticking in this is the way I do it and it's the only way I do it. But if you're not willing to change and shift and respond to that, then that could be part of the ugly part of being a boss. All right. And then finally, we're going to talk about customer complaints. Customer complaints are a result of expectations being here and what they perceive as being delivered being below that, right? So this is why it is very clear to clearly outline in your quote, proposal, whatever documentation you have, exactly what they will get, how they will get it, the timeline, and what the deliverables are. And if during the process their expectations change and they would like something more, then you need to have a system in place where you document, okay, this is outside the scope of work. So we can do that for you, but this is what it would look like to work with us on that, right? This is what the additional charge is. If people are not happy, we are in a day and age where we cannot let that go to the side. We have to address that because what is it that they want? What is the expectation? What will make them happy? Is it bringing in another service when they feel like they didn't get enough of this? Is it tweaking what they have? Is it fine tuning it? Because this is a day and age, if people are not happy with doing business with you, they have no problem going online and writing a review. They have no problem going out and telling their friends. And then that can impact your brand reputation. So making sure when clients walk away from working with you that you do have a good relationship, that you can have a conversation about what are their expectations and if you're able to deliver it. Which also brings up the point, if you start working with a client and you see that you're not aligned, it's not a good fit. I've been in a situation where I had to have that conversation with someone. It's clear that you expect more than what I'm able to deliver. And possibly even refunding their money, right? Because what people say about working on the other side of you is so much more powerful than what you can say for yourself. All right. So you can see the good, the bad, the ugly. There's a lot of reasons why people continue to work for companies. And you know what? I believe we still need people working at companies. We need businesses to have people that work for them. So what you experience in having that employer, you've got a lot of security with that paycheck coming in. You don't have to go out and find your own clients. And it's almost like the business has that responsibility for you, almost acting like a parental figure, right? But I've been getting quite a few clients who are leaving their companies and starting their own thing. And that's great for me. I'm able to help them walk and navigate to know where to start. Or businesses that are already in existence and they've hit a wall. They don't know how to amplify their growth. They don't know how to bring in more clients or maybe even how to have another offer. But if you're still working for a company and you're contemplating starting your own business, here is a piece of an unsolicited advice for you. While you still have that paycheck, go ahead and look at starting your side gig, at your passion project, whatever it is. Use your 9 to 5 to fund your 5 to 9. Use your 9 to 5 to fund your 5 to 9. Because when you take off that pressure of survival is when you can really have the bandwidth and also the perspective to really look into what type of business it is that I want to build, and it's one that I will be able to love. All right. So I will tell you, being a third generation entrepreneur, when I started my business, I thought I knew everything that was going to happen. I'd been there. I'd sat at the feet of my parents watching that. But one thing I want to just really relay to you, while it has been the most rewarding thing I've done, it's also been the hardest thing I've done. Working outside of my comfort zone has really pushed me to grow. But I've met some amazing people. I'm doing some incredible work. I feel like I am changing people's lives, and there's something that I could not do when I was working for someone else. So I hope you got what you needed today. It's been a little bit of a longer episode, but being in a position where you're considering being your own boss, or if you are your own boss, there is a good, a bad, and an ugly side to it. And walking into it with your eyes wide open is really important. So if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would share it or even leave a review. And if you are enjoying it, also ask you to subscribe to the show, because we'll have more great episodes coming up. So this is where I really believe that when you lean into your passion, you can discover your purpose and you'll show up as that personal brand of integrity. And so until next week, here's to a life of so much more on the way to discovering your legendary self.